gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to a Thursday edition of Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Nearly through the week, we have officially made it to Thursday, of course, Friday, and then the weekend right around the corner. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're watching live on YouTube, we appreciate that. Please subscribe. Please tell a friend or two or 10 about what we're doing, what we're starting, what we're building here in the Quad Cities. It's a daily streaming Quad City sports show, talking literally about everything when it comes to the world of sports, food, and fun here in the Quad Cities. A lot of good stuff to get to today. Also, we are on all of the podcasting platforms, including Apple, and that's been a big one. Finally got on that one this week, and the numbers have risen nicely. So if you don't miss the show, or if you can't watch a show, I should say, 10 a.m. to noon every day, make sure you check it out on all your podcasting platforms as well. And that's better because you don't have to look at my ugly face. You can just listen to the stuff that we're talking about instead of having to look at it as well. So a big show, a good show to get to today, coming up in just a little bit. My good friend Julian Vandervelde will be joining us. Of course, Julian played for the Eagles, so we'll get his perspective on the Philadelphia Eagles coming up in the Super Bowl. We'll also talk to him about Cooper DeJean and the Hawkeye connection to the Super Bowl this season. And then also with Julian, I'm excited about this because we are going to break down the top 5 foods that you have to eat during the Super Bowl. I have my list. I think it's a great list. Julian has a list as well. We'll compare and contrast and talk Super Bowl food coming up in just a little bit. Also, coming up in a matter of moments, Marquez Davis from the Davenport North basketball program will joining us. The MAC is loaded this year. A lot of good teams, especially coming into the year, a lot of talent. And North kind of flew under the radar a little bit, but here we are, 11 games into the season, and the Wildcats sit atop the standings at 9-2. So we'll talk to their head coach here in just a matter of moments. And then also in the second hour of the show, my good friends Kakert and Don Umland will be in because we're talking wrestling. And I know there's a big meet in Iowa City, or I should say at Penn State, I think, on Friday night between Iowa and Penn State. We'll talk about that coming up tomorrow, but we're talking Royal Rumble in Indianapolis, WWE wrestling. So for all you wrestling dorks like myself out there, hour number 2 is the place where you need to get to. Yesterday's show, we had Trent Wallace, Tim Baldridge, and the Wild Man Dan Burrich. So go check out that show. Started a nice, fun topic. Didn't start it because I know others have kind of talked about it. But with Madison Keys winning the Australian Open, is she on the Quad City Mount Rushmore when it comes to sports? And what is your Mount Rushmore when it comes to Quad City sports? It's a storied and rich tradition here in the Quad Cities. So check out that as well. And we appreciate you checking out all the shows on the YouTube channel. A couple quick notes. Last night, it was the Augustana men and women both picking up victories. Tough night for St. Ambrose. Both the men and women fall on the local college hardwood. The Illini play tonight at Nebraska, but they also announced that on February 11th, they'll be holding a jersey ceremony against UCLA for Kofi Coburn, so that'll be a big day in Champaign for the Fighting Illini. So we talked some college hoops. We got a lot of high school hoops to talk about. A big Friday night coming up in the Western Big Six. It'll be Moline, Rock Island. And in the MAC, the games continue to get bigger and bigger, and we're joined now by the co-leaders for the MAC. It is Marquez Davis joining me now, the head coach at Davenport North. First and foremost, I appreciate you doing this. I kind of like the backdrop and everything. You look cozy wherever you're at.
Absolutely. This is my man cave here in the basement. So I call it the Laker cave. I've got a lot of my favorite all-time Lakers jerseys up here. So love to see you. Saw your helmets there. Detroit Lions fan, I see. So
yes.
Apologize about their early exit, unfortunately. But
Coach, we're here to talk about basketball. Let's leave football alone. It's been a rough couple weeks, but you know what? Hey, I lived through 0-16, so 15-2 and an early exit from the playoffs. I'll take every year. basketball is really heating up. And I mentioned it in my open, Coach, because the MAC is loaded this year. A lot of individual talent and a lot of good basketball teams. And I think people talked about some other schools to start the season. And I don't know if Davenport North was one of those teams they talked about right away. What did you know about this team coming into the season that you liked about your squad?
Well, this journey really started back last April. I had a chance to really start our off-season program early, really getting these guys in the weight room, trying to take an emphasis on our strength and conditioning. And we had a bunch of guys who really bought in from the beginning. Didn't have a lot of multi-sport athletes, so that really helped with being able to get things started pretty early and really implement an off-season workout program that coming into the season, I figured we'd be pretty deep and wanted to make sure that, we could play the style and brand of basketball that I wanted to do, which was, to get up and be able to really pressure teams the entire game. And the only way to do that is to make sure that, you are the best conditioned athletes on the floor. So had a great group that really worked hard on their bodies this off season. And just like you said, I know that we flew under the radar. We don't have a lot of, huge names, no nationally ranked recruits, no high major Division I commits. At the moment, we've got one junior college commit at this time. So it was understandable coming into the season. Going into our MAC Boys luncheon here in the fall, I believe we were voted to finish bottom 3 in the conference. So with that, being able to have our seniors there at that luncheon and be able to take that message back to our program once we started really gave the guys some added motivation going into this year to really try and hit the ground running.
When you start that early, and it's great to get rolling that early and kind of put a foundation in, but the buy-in has to be there. These kids seem bought in. When did you see that buy-in? I know it's cliche in sports and basketball the term buy-in, but you have to have it. When did these kids, in your opinion, seem bought in about what you guys are doing and what you wanted to do this year?
Well, we have 5 seniors and 11 juniors on our team. And the majority of our junior class, they've, really stayed together. They played together since around 6th grade. Didn't have a lot of kids move up early. They were able to really come into high school and settle in as freshmen and compete together and, continue that the next year as sophomores. And coming into their first varsity season, I really saw just some leaders emerge from that group. Those guys really believed in each other. They built really great relationships. And I was able to see early on with just their commitment coming 4 days a week, making sure they're in the weight room, how hard they worked. And then also, too, the least fun part about basketball training, conditioning. Being able to see the effort that they gave me every single day was just something that I knew that we could build on going into the summertime, and really had a chance to get a great look over the summer with being able to play in the St. Ambrose League and go to a couple tournaments and do pretty well.
You mentioned the buy-in and these guys playing hard. I was texting with your athletic director yesterday, Jeremy Mosier, and I'm like, these guys are fun to watch. And he said they just play so hard. As a head coach, and sometimes you can roll the ball out there and you're just more talented. But to see you guys play the way they do and play with the, aggression and effort that they do, what does that mean? Because these guys play hard every night, and you don't get that each and every night on the high school level.
It means the world to me. Being able to look at our team and notice, hey, we're not the biggest team in the world. Our tallest guy is 6'5". Our starting point guard's 5'7". But just understanding the type of athleticism that they had, and then just the grit. A lot of people don't look at this, but playing hard is a skill. And I've always preset to our guys that, you don't have to be the most talented. You don't have to be the most athletic. You don't have to be the tallest to go out there and actually showcase a skill, which is just playing hard all the time. And that was something that, starting with our 4 seniors that have really given us a boost this year. They've really carried that down into the junior group. And I've been able to see, like I said, since April, how hard this group really wanted to work. And, when we started tryouts in that first week of practice, going 2-a-days, 6 a.m., being able to practice before school for 2 hours, have those kids go through school the entire day and come right back after school, and have them still be able to work as hard as they did, that really gave me hope that that could carry over into when the game started. And, it really has. They've really come every single game, no matter if we're outmatched or outskilled. They know that regardless, they can compete harder than, anyone we can step on the floor with, as long as we do that together.
Was there a game, a moment, a practice, maybe this season that you realized that, yeah, this team can compete for a MAC title? I think for the outside looking in, that victory over Muscatine kind of got my attention, which wait, whoa, these guys are legit. Was there a moment that I think you guys probably believed, but was there a moment in your head that you're like, that's where we're going to get rolling, and that kind of puts us on the map for maybe bigger things than a lot of people expected?
Yeah, I would say definitely our third and fourth game of the season. We had Central DeWitt, and then followed it up with Central right after that. And in both games in the first half, we were down double digits. Being able to see, a 15-plus point deficit going into halftime. But going into halftime and talking with our guys, there was no wavering in their eyes. There was no sulking, no pouting, and just being able to see that they were still going to fight and compete. And then coming back and having, huge second halves to be able to pull those games out after that Central DeWitt, and then going into that next game against Central. That was when I really knew, hey, we may have something here with this group. We had a first couple games where we won by a pretty big margin, but those third and fourth games really, really showed me and opened my eyes that, hey, this team is special and they have so much grit. And if we can continue to keep putting it together and grow together, I think we can do something special this year.
That's the second time you used that word great. I'm going to send you a Lions helmet. That's my guy's word. That's Dan Campbell's word. I like it. I'm joined now by Marquez Davis, the head coach at Davenport North. I've worked with and I'm friends with Brian Stocking, so I know all about the rivalry in Davenport. I covered the area for 25 years. I know every game in the MAC is big, but when Central comes to town or when West comes to town, it's just different. It's just bigger. You mentioned the first victory against them. You did it again on Tuesday night. And not just to sweep those guys, but to go on the road in a tough environment like that at George Marshall Gym. You know how tough it is to play there, and to get victories. Talk about what this city stuff means, because I don't think people maybe outside of Davenport realize the rivalries between these three schools.
It's amazing for our community. Myself, I went to Central and North. I started off at Central and I ended up graduating from Davenport North in 2007. And being on both sides of that rivalry, playing West as well during that time, and they were good as well. You just can see once, you have three good city teams here in Davenport, when we're all three pretty good and competitive, it just does something to the city. It brings everyone out. And then once we actually do get to the postseason time, if you have one or more teams going pretty far, you then see the entire community really band together and, really cheer on even the other schools that they're not a part of. And I understand how big these rivalry games are. And for us to be able to go on the road with so much at stake, being able to stay in first place, I think it's been since 1996, this deep into the season that, North has had a chance to win the MAC title and be in first place. So, being able to see that our guys, were able to just kind of seize that moment, really embrace it, and, really not take that for granted. That really just, solidified that, hey, if we can go into George Marshall Gym with that great a team over there, and do what we did and come out with a victory, who do you really fear in the rest of the state? You guys could really go on and really do different things. And for me, it was just big to be able to see my team even down the stretch, when Central did make their run, for our guys to not really waver and, continue to stay the course, continue to try to get stops and really execute down the stretch. We've had a mixture of, some blowout games for us and, some really tight games against close team or really good teams. And to be able to see how our guys have responded, taking care of the ball, valuing every possession in the fourth quarter, it's just really made me proud when it comes to, the things that we've preached as a coaching staff, to see our players really going out and showcasing that on the court.
Coach, the good thing for the media, the fans of the MAC is you get a good game, you wait a few days, you get another great game. It might be tougher as a head coach because the gauntlet continues. You go to Bettendorf and then you look at the schedule: North Scott, Pleasant Valley, Assumption, super talented, a trip to Muscatine. There's no nights off in this conference. Does the message to your kids change at all? Because that luncheon, that banquet that had you guys in the bottom three, that's a long time ago. And I think, you're not going to sneak up on anybody anymore. Do you change your message? Because you're not flying under the radar anymore. You're one of the favorites now to win the conference.
Absolutely. Our message really right after we came back from Christmas break was you're no longer going to be the team that sneaks up on people. You go from being the hunters to the hunted. Everyone now, when you get a matchup against them, they're circling that. And it means something to them to come out and beat us, especially with how well we've played. And you have to not only increase your level of intensity, but, everything has to rise from, the last guy on the bench to our first guy on the court. So we've been able to relay that message to our guys that, hey, we're no longer going to be able to sneak up on teams. We have to now come out and prepare even harder and be more thorough in what we do. But our guys, again, have continued to respond to that. They've embraced that role, and it's new for a lot of us. It is. It's been a while. Like I said, I was an assistant coach in 2020 when we were able to get to the state championship, state tournament, and understanding what that team looked like, not having any high major Division I players or anything like that, but seeing what the recipe could be. I saw a lot of that in our team, and we pretty much have had the same type of trajectory when it's come to that. And you have to understand now in the MAC, every single night is going to be a dogfight. If you look at all the top teams, they're pretty much separated by a game or two. And everyone's kind of beat everyone, including us getting beat. We've lost to Assumption and Bettendorf this year. Both are very good teams. But if you look at records, someone from the outside looking in that doesn't know the MAC conference may look at that and say, hey, they're an okay team, but no, they're capable of, making a run at any given time and, really battling and possibly getting to the state tournament, especially with Assumption last year, going all the way and winning a 3A state championship.
Couple more for you before I let you get back to work. You mentioned the losses. There's Assumption and there's Bettendorf, and they're both still left on the schedule once again, starting Friday with a trip to the Dog Pound, I believe. How excited, how eager guys to, I don't want to say get revenge and get all that kind of stuff, but, they get another shot at a team they got them. And that's the beauty part of the MAC is if you don't get them the first time, you always get to play them again. So how big is Friday night? And talk about making adjustments, because you can look at the things that hurt you in that first game and maybe correct them on Friday night.
Absolutely. This game is huge for us, and our guys understand that. We relayed that message right in the locker room right after the Central win. We were going to enjoy that win that night, but, it was on to Bettendorf come Wednesday morning. All of our focus and attention and detail had to be on Bettendorf, and going into that building, it's tough. It doesn't matter what their record is. You might as well throw that out the window. They have a great crowd over there. Coach Alvin Vesey has done a great job this year taking over that program, and they have some really, really good players, especially Cole Oldify, who's, I believe he's a, Mr. Basketball candidate right now in the state of Iowa. So, for us, it's going to be, we've really taken a chance to, dive in deep in the film room to see exactly where, some of the mistakes that we made early. We got a chance to play them. I believe it was the 5th or 6th game of the year. So for us, I believe we're a different team now, and we're going to be able to come out now and I believe, put forth a better effort all across the board with every facet of the game. And again, it's going to be a dogfight, and they're not going to give it to us, and they're capable of beating anyone in the conference on any given night. And for us, it's just going to be making sure that we stick to exactly what we've been doing, and which is defense first. You've got to make sure you handle the defensive end and get up in pressure and make sure that they're not getting a lot of easy baskets, and making sure that we can get out to shooters, because, their staple for years they've always had great 3-point shooters. So for us, it's just going to be continuing to stay the course, not let this moment get too big, and just take it one game at a time, and really try to come out and make sure we get out to a good start there at Bettendorf.
Before I let you go, big picture this for me, because I feel old because I remember covering you playing basketball, and now you're a head coach at your alma mater, and you're building something. You get to put that logo on and stand on those sidelines and coach your alma mater. And some nights are great. Some nights you want to forget about probably, but you're getting to live the dream. Big picture this for me. How much do you enjoy being at your alma mater and rebuilding a program that you were part of and have been part of for a long time?
It's a huge blessing. The Lord is, really put me in a special position. Every single day I'm able to help impact young men's lives. And for me, I understand growing up here in this area, I came across so many great male mentors on my way up that really helped, mold and shape me to the person I am today. And just understanding no matter how little or how much of an interaction I had with them, different things that I got from them were able to stick long term. And for me, it was all about when I came back to North to coach as an assistant under Coach Polite, and then being able to take the program over, I really understood what the responsibility was going to be. And it's always bigger than basketball for me. It's making sure that our kids, they leave in a better situation once they do leave our program, and they have a solid idea and foundation on what they want to do. And a lot of times, again, it's not even about basketball. We have a lot of kids that I interact with that want to go to school and don't want to play basketball, which is, for me, 100% okay. What does that look like? How can we make sure that, you're doing the things possible to be able to get into the schools that you want to? And if it's not school, what does it look like as far as trade school, things like that? For me, it's being able to make sure that I don't take that for granted at all. And every interaction that I have with our kids, I'm making sure that, I'm pouring back into them the same way that some of the great mentors, who have been around this area have done for me, like the late great, rest in peace, Coach Morgan, the Matt McDowells of the world, the Rodney Tatums, just, so many guys that, have really, really made a staple in my life. And, I hope to be able to be someone like that for some of these kids one day. And I always tell them, hey, when you come back, in 15 years, you're going to be bringing your kids to the games, and, you'll be able to look up hopefully on the wall and see a banner and say, hey, we were able to do that. We had a special group. And when I see them out at Target or something in 15 years, being able to run into them and have those great interactions and just reminisce for a minute, that's really my biggest thing, and the joy that I get out of this. And, obviously winning's fun, but, it's always bigger than basketball with me.
Coach, you're doing a fantastic job. You mentioned Coach Polite. He was on last week. He's done nothing but win since. Sean Taylor was on last week. He's done nothing but win since. Ryan O'Brien was on last week. He got a big victory at Pleasant Valley. Alex Johnson was on. He's been winning since then. They beat Rock Ridge. I don't want to say that I'm good luck, but I'm not bad luck. So hopefully Friday night you can keep that trend going with a big game at Bettendorf.
I mean, I'm hoping so. I actually played for Coach Ron O'Brien when I transferred over to North in the 2006-2007 season, and he's doing an amazing job out there with that Central DeWitt girls program. Exactly type of coach and person that program needed, and he's been able to do great things. And Coach Polite, I can't say enough about that guy. One of my mentors in coaching, and being able to talk with him frequently, just even about just regular life. Coach Dan Bazaar, he gave me a chance over at Black Hawk when Polite was an assistant as well. And once Polite got the North job, he had enough confidence to be able to bring me in and bring me under his wing. And, I'm just going to be forever indebted and thankful for him and the things that he's done for my coaching career, especially early. And, you see what he's doing over there with that Rock Island program. And, I wouldn't have expected anything less from that. So, we're always cheering and rooting for him. And, he's going to continue to impact so many young men's lives the way that I hope to one day.
You're doing a great job. We appreciate you, Coach. Best of luck the rest of the way, and hopefully we can talk again soon towards the end of the season with bigger and better things on the horizon for the Wildcats. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Matt. And hope you guys enjoy the draft. And I believe the Lions will be back next year. So
I
everybody better
appreciate
look
that.
out.
I need it. I need it. Thanks, my man. All right, he is Marquez Davis, head coach at Davenport North High School. We got a lot more to get to on today's show. Coming up after the break, we'll be joined by another good dude, Julian Vandervelde, talking Super Bowl, Cooper DeJean, and most importantly, top 5 foods that you got to eat during the Super Bowl. You're watching Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. We will be right back.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air on a Thursday here in the Quad Cities. Thanks so much for joining us. A lot to get to in the world of sports, especially when it comes to football. There's just one game left. It is that big game, the Super Bowl, coming up in about a week and a half. And it's Kansas City once again versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And when I think about the Eagles, I think of this man right here. Julian Vandervelde joins us with a seductive look on his face on a Thursday. Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How could I not be? Philly's back in the Super Bowl where we belong.
And it's funny because I'm a Lions fan. Everybody knows that. But for a short time, I was a Eagles fan and a Colts fan because of two knuckleheads from the Quad Cities that were playing in the league, and that includes you. To have Philly back in that Super Bowl once again, got to feel pretty good.
Feels really good. It's weird. I get a lot of people asking me, so are you a Philly fan? Like, are you a Philadelphia fan for life now? And I generally tend to root for whichever team has the most Hawkeyes on it. I still don't feel like a true loyalty, but there's a piece of me that always belongs in Philadelphia because that is the first team that really believed in me enough to take a chance. And it just so happens they're also the only one of the two teams playing that has a Hawkeye on the roster. So I get to absolutely nail it this year.
That's true, and it's Cooper. We're going to talk about him in a second, but I was talking to the boys, and we were talking about you and playing in the league and all that kind of stuff, and one of them asked me, and I don't know which one because I have like 100 kids, but one of them asked me, like, does Julian play, or did he play with any of the guys that are still on the team? And I said, well, he played with Jason Kelsey, not with the team anymore. And I thought maybe Lane Johnson. So I will turn to you, who would know how many dudes are still left on that team right now.
Yeah, Lane was on the team when I was there. I'm trying to think. None of the other starting linemen were there, certainly. And I don't think there's any skill players that are left either. Like, I think Lane is the last vestige of my my career, which somebody reminded me earlier today was a decade ago this
Oh my
year. I think
gosh.
this is my 10-year anniversary of being done. So not surprising that there's not a lot, but I am still considered a graduate of Stoutland University, and as long as Stout is there, I feel like I will always have a connection to Philadelphia.
Julian, you're killing me. It's been 10 years since you got out. It seems like yesterday I was going
Yeah,
to
2011 to 2015 was my last year.
I felt like just like yesterday I was going to the Greenbrier, right? That's where you had your draft party?
That is, yep.
And it's been 10 years since you've been out. Man, I feel old. Luckily, you're not as old as I am, but that makes me feel old. It felt like this Philly window. Okay, so I'm a Lions fan, and everyone's telling me the Lions window is closing or closed. And I feel like they said the same thing about the Eagles 2 years ago or even last year. And here they are kind of riding the ship and having a fantastic season. Are you surprised that they're back in the Super Bowl, especially starting the year 2-2 and kind of being on shaky ground early on?
Well, first of all, your Lions are just getting started. Let's be real with that. Like I want to take the time to preface this statement with absolutely you guys are going to be fine. I mean, what? You look at the climb that they made from year to year to year, and the postseason, more often than not, is determined by who is healthiest. And Lord knows the Lions were probably the least healthy team that was left in the playoffs. So the fact that they were considered the number one favorite to go to the Super Bowl from the NFC, they're just getting started. You guys are going to be just fine. I am not surprised at all to see Philly back, and I think I was a huge fan of watching Saquon Barkley in college. I hated what he did to Iowa, obviously, but it's one of those times when you look at an athlete, you look at a guy, and you go, "Holy cow, this dude is built to do the thing that he is doing." Right, like all the factors have come into place, and he is it's like Michael Phelps was swimming, right? Just the perfect specimen of what the physical characteristics that you need to do a thing and be great at it. And Saquon is one of those guys. And so for him to come into the situation in Philadelphia, which, I mean, behind that offensive line that Stout has always produced such great offensive lines. And with Kelsey leaving, like, you lose a lot of experience, but they really just got bigger and more physically like dominant up front with the addition of like Mekhi Becton and stuff. So to have that combination, if you can run the ball consistently, you can win games, right? That's consistent across all levels of football. And to be the best running team, to be able to have explosive breakout runs in the running game and not have to chuck the ball, 50 yards downfield to get your chunk plays out, but to be able to do that in the running game just makes us so dangerous. And I'm so glad that they did not run Sirianni out of Philadelphia when we started 2-2, because I know there were a lot of people calling for his head on a spike when we hit the bye week, and the turnaround has been phenomenal. But I'm not in any way, shape, or form surprised with the weapons that they have, with that offense, with that offensive line, and with the defense, with the experience that the defensive line has gained with their Georgia boys and whatnot that they brought in. I'm not in any way, shape, or form surprised to find them back in the Super Bowl.
That defense really good because of an addition of a rookie. I'm going to get to Cooper in a second, but I got to double back down because, boy, it's interesting. They rave about Philadelphia's offensive line, and so I got a guy on here who played in this system and knows and sees a lot. What do they do that obviously individually it helps their talented dudes and big dudes up front, but schematically, what makes them special? What makes their run game different from almost every other run game in the league? There's a handful of run games I feel like that's in that upper echelon, and Philly's probably leading the way.
Yeah, and it's Stoutland, man. It's Jeff Stoutland and his philosophy, his mentality, the way that he coaches, the technique that he coaches, the fundamentals of it, the basics of it, the drills, and the way that he's able to to kind of conceptualize the idea of how you're supposed to hit certain combo blocks and which part of your body you're supposed to use to do this or that, how the mechanics of your body function, and the angles that you're supposed to take. It's how he teaches seeing the field and not just reading like the guys in front of you, but reading the second level, reading the third level, knowing based on safety positions and rotations and corner depth and linebacker alignment and stuff. Like, you put all of this stuff together and you get such a clear picture of what the defense is going to do. And when you know what the defense is doing before the snap of the ball, you can make those little micro adjustments that are necessary to step a certain way, or maybe step 4 inches instead of 6 inches to pass off a combo block, and the linebacker's coming over the top. Like, his ability to teach defense, not just to teach the offensive line, because technically he teaches offensive line exceptionally, obviously, like at a world-class level, a Hall of Fame level, but it's the mental side of the game. It's his preparation of guys based on what they're going to see, based on what the defense is going to do, what you can expect from the defense when certain things happen. It puts you a step ahead. And I think that contributes a lot to how dominant they are when facing, whatever defensive front they're going against. And then you just put a guy in the back behind that who's always going to make the first guy miss, right? And it's so dangerous in the open field. It's just it's a perfect recipe to have a dominant running game.
Dang, that's really good, Julian. There's no reason why you're not talking football on Saturdays and the big dumb animal Pat Anger is. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Let's talk Cooper DeJean, because I think the thing I realized is he's helping their defense so much. But I almost look at it too, Julian, where not that Iowa's defense was bad this year, but you can see how important that dude was on that defense in Iowa City because of what they missed this year. What he does for the Eagles is what the Hawkeyes probably missed defensively this year.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, it was most apparent in the Nebraska game when he got injured and they just immediately scored. What, it was like three touchdowns on his replacement real quick. What was that, 2 years ago? When he got hurt at the end of the season in that game. Like, it's when you have to take somebody from an elite lockdown level, right? Like, we don't have to worry about this guy anymore because Coop's on him, right? We've eliminated a whole variable from the field. Like, to lose that is tremendously, like, it's hard to replace, right? You can't do it. Guys can fill in schematically. You can do certain things, and Phil will get everything figured out. Absolutely have absolute faith in that. I do find it interesting that a lot of the things that I heard about Coop coming out from people who didn't think he was maybe as good as people thought, or as we in Iowa thought he was going to be. I always recall, or I go back to kind of one of his big plays was the 4th down play where he made a big stop following somebody in man-to-man who is really fast. I forget who that was and who they were playing. You might remember better than I. But like a motion, a return, and then returning to the same side of the field again, and kind of trying to shake him in the backfield, and he's in man-to-man coverage against one of the fastest players in the league, and he tracks him down and makes the play in the backfield and kind of does his little this calm down celebrate. Or that was Derrick Henry, but he makes the play. And all these people were like, oh, well, he's a great zone corner, but he's not going to be able to play like man-to-man against the athletes in the NFL. Like, first of all, screw you. He absolutely has shown that he can play with anybody. And to fit him into that defense with Slay and Quinion Mitchell and everything, like, their back end right now is so good. And with a disruptive defensive line, with a lockdown back end, and then Bond, right? The kind of the surprise of the season. It's hard to find a weakness in that defense. Now, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Andy, right? But I am very hopeful that this time we'll flip the script on Kansas City from the last Kansas City Philly Super Bowl.
Yeah, you look at it, Julian, and they got two rookies playing cornerback. I mean, Darius Slay is a veteran and a fantastic and started in Detroit, and I know him well. But and Cooper kept falling. You know, he was a guy that I expected, you know, the Lions late in the first round to get. They moved up and got Terrion Arnold. He was sitting there for Green Bay, and Green Bay didn't take him. And I think they passed him again early in the second round. To watch so many people pass you up, it's got to keep a little chip on your shoulder when you get to the league and you can prove all of those teams that passed on you one time that you're one of the best cornerbacks in the league, especially at a young age.
Yeah, and I think too, I think part of it is you get a chip on your shoulder when when you know you're an elite guy, and there are certain expectations that get set, and maybe you want payback, you want to prove everybody wrong, but I also think there's such an element in the league of the right fit, right? Of finding the place in a system where you belong, where your skill set can be best utilized, where you have a place in that room, in the culture of the team that fits you. Like so many guys, the things that kill careers more often than anything, I think, are just injury and then scheme fit. Right, not being able to stay healthy. Unfortunately, me and Pat know how that feels. And not being in a place where you're able to fully utilize your skill set and thrive. And a lot of times you don't get a second chance once you bounce out of those situations. So it might honestly be a blessing that he fell as far as he did, because clearly in Philly they had a plan for him and they had a need for him, and he fits into the plan and he fits that need so incredibly well that he's going to hopefully have a very long, career, and be a Pro Bowl, all pro kind of guy. What is he, a finalist for Defensive Rookie of the Year this year, right? Like off to a very hot start. So it was a little surprising. I'll admit, I thought the Packers were going to take him, for sure. And, having grown up a Packer fan with my grandparents having a cabin in Wisconsin and stuff, and always going up there and, and seeing the green and yellow, I was a little disappointed. But when Philly picked him up, it was just one of those chef's kiss moments, just perfect. Like, yes, this works. I can work with this.
Yes, it was a good thing. It was really a good thing. And next year he'll be asked to do more. Darius Slay is a free agent. I know he wants to play another year. He's going to want to get paid a little bit. I don't know if he ends up staying or if another team takes him. So he could end up playing a more prominent role next year as well. So Julian Vandervelde joining me right now. A couple other things I want to talk to you about. Plus, before we let you go, just to tease it a little bit, the big game is coming up, and I'll get your prediction, blah, 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 blah. But more importantly, what are we eating? We're going to go through our top 5 things you need to eat if you're watching the Super Bowl. We're going to get to that in just a second, but a couple more quick things. Bears, I know you're not a Bears fan or anything like that, but they make a interesting hire with Declan Doyle, of course, ties to the University of Iowa, Chris Doyle's son, but also a GA when he was at Iowa. So there's that connection, but I think this thing that stood out to me, it's interesting, and it gives a tie to us that it's a Doyle, but it's also a 28-year-old. So I guess double question is, to have that tie to Iowa is pretty cool, but then also these guys keep getting younger and younger, man. Is that something that you're seeing, and why is that? Why is coaches and now OCs becoming younger and younger?
So I think, first of all, the Iowa tie is awesome, right? For everything that anybody wants to say about the Doyles doesn't matter to me. What matters is they were always the hardest working, most dedicated, most on the cutting edge of what you could do with, for Chris Doyle, it was always with strength and conditioning. His kids were always in the weight room, they were in the building, they were in the environment, right? Like, it's a football family. And I think that it's really cool to see Declan now picking that up and, kind of continuing, on the coaching side of it. I think that you certainly see a trend, right? It's undeniable that there's a trend that coaches, that there's everyone's looking for the next big thing. To kind of try and wrap my thoughts around this a little bit more, I think we've seen with, like with McVay and some of the Shanahans and some of kind of the moves that have been made on other teams, that there can be young coaches who maybe bring a different perspective than anyone has seen. Everybody's kind of looking for that next guy, next great offensive mind who, maybe has his own system or has pieces of this system or that system, or is able to see the game with fresh eyes. And I think the older you get, the more stuck in your ways you tend to be. The more history there is on you, the more people can pick apart your tendencies and pick apart your scheme and figure out, how best to stop you. And some guys are really good at keeping it fresh. Some guys are just so good at teaching things a certain way that even if you know what they're going to do, it doesn't matter. They're going to beat you anyway. But there was always kind of this ooh and ah about somebody who like at the college level, the curiosity is anytime a big position opens, who's going to our good friend, our local product here who recently took over Central Michigan, right? Not maybe 28 years young, but at the same time, came up through the system through Kansas, St. Ambrose, Kansas Wesleyan, Army and everything, and moves up into Central Michigan. When you're at kind of those smaller schools, you have more of the ability to like form your own system and to try new things and to get creative with it. And that creativity a lot of times is a part of being young and being able to look at the game with fresh eyes. And I think that's part of why you see this shift to younger coaches. There's an enthusiasm there. There's an energy there. It is really weird, though, I think, that there's going to be guys that he's coordinating for that have been in the league like years longer than he's been a coach.
Yeah.
There's guys who are going to be older than him that he's coordinating who've been playing, and how do you gain their respect? Right? How do you reel those guys in and get them to believe in you and in your system and in what you're teaching them and the way that you want them to do things, especially if they've been doing things a different way for a long time. There's certainly some challenges with it, but I also think it's a very exciting opportunity for any young coach to come in and try and put his stamp on things and develop his system, and he's going to have quite the mentor in Ben Johnson there to are they going to run Ben's system and how much leeway is he really going to have, right? That's when the head coach is an offensive guy. How is he just a play caller on Sundays? Is he there more to learn than anything else? What is his role supposed to be?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of question marks that come along with it, but it's also a very, very cool opportunity. And again, anytime there's an Iowa tie, heck yeah, let's get
I'm
there.
all for it. Absolutely. And Ben's going to call plays. I mean, that's Ben's offense. So it's cool because you are 28. You're not expected to do that on Sunday. So you're going to learn, get better. Everyone tells me he's going to be a head coach someday. My big thing with the Bears is they always win the offseason, and then they don't win in the regular season. So we'll see how that goes. Julian Vandervelde joining us right now. We're going to talk food here in a second. But your day job is at Shaw Electric, and I know there's something really cool that you guys have been doing for a while that's available in the Quad Cities and something that I feel like people need to talk about. So tell us about Shaw University.
Sure. So this is it's only our second year doing it. It's been in concept for a while. The very short version of it is a couple years back, we had a kid from West Branch who asked to come and train with one of our guys, because he was going to the craft championships. He was part of a competition that he was going to. And so he came and trained with us, and then the school was like, hey, this is really cool. Can we bring some more kids down? I said, absolutely. So they brought a busload of kids down. And we just kind of did like a field trip thing. And so that was kind of the start. And then we thought, this is cool, but there's such a massive need for skilled tradespeople, right? There's this big gap where you had there's an older generation that has all this knowledge and all this experience, and then you have this big gap where trades jobs were, I don't want to say demonized, but they were kind of played down for a while. The idea
Sure.
was you go to, you go to a college, you get your degree, you get out, you work in an office. Like that's just kind of, the expectation of what you do. And I think we all kind of understand um, that there's, social promises, I guess, that were made that maybe aren't necessarily being fulfilled societally through that model. And so now we're seeing this return of kids who are more interested in getting back into trade positions and being able to earn while they learn, to not necessarily go the full 4-year college route. And they want the flexibility that comes with like a full license for being a carpenter or an electrician or whatever. And so we decided that we were going to capitalize on that. That we wanted to help push that sort of mentality. And so we started last year with the first Shaw University. And what it is we took area schools. We had like Central North and West. We had North Scott. We invited. We invited West Branch because they were kind of the impetus for this. Assumption. Some other spots. And we asked them to bring kids for a full day event. So not a career fair. The idea was we were going to essentially take them for an entire school day and run them through a bunch of stations, right? 8 stations I think we had, where they were going to do hands-on. They were going to spend a decent amount of time doing the actual things that electricians do in a controlled environment in our training facility. So some, safety demonstrations, going up in lifts. We made it fun. You could like throw a watermelon off the lift if you made it all the way to the top and stuff like that. But putting on arc flash suits, wiring up a wall, pulling cable, through pipe and stuff, and wiring up a fire alarm, system on a wall. Basically, the stuff that we train our guys in, so that they could kind of get a feel for, hey, is this really the direction that I want my life to take?
Sure.
If they really liked working with their hands, but maybe they weren't into the electrical track, cool. You found out now. You saved yourself some time and energy and money. You probably saved your employer some time and energy and money. You can go pursue, plumbing or HVAC or, the pipe fitting, carpentry, whatever it is that you want to do. But for the ones that really did kind of click with that, it's like, okay, this is a direction that your life can take, and you can, start to look for more avenues to make this a reality. And so this year we're expanding the number of schools that we're taking. We're increasing the number of kids a little bit. We're expanding the things that they're going to be doing. It is still a ways away. We're not going to run it until late March. We're targeting March 27th right now. Unfortunately, it's not really like a sign up to do this thing, but we are going to put the call out to most of the area schools and see if they've got juniors and seniors who are considering the trades, who are serious about wanting to make this a career, so that we can continue to raise awareness about the needs for skilled tradespeople. We continue to help those who may be considering the trades, whether the electrical trade is for them or isn't for them. And if it is, then wonderful. We've sparked that interest one step further. And if it isn't, then again, we've saved them some time and energy, and they can move on to whatever else it is they want to do with their lives.
It's super important. I can remember going to college and not knowing what I wanted to do, and maybe doing the sports broadcasting stuff. And I tell people all the time, do it. You don't know what you want to do until you actually get your hand, whether it's sports journalism or the trades or electricians and all that kind of stuff. You don't know unless you do it. So it's a great idea to start young, find out if it's for you. You can tell. If it's not for you, then like you said, you're not wasting any time. So a very cool concept. No way to sign up. Hopefully your school is doing that event. Like, are you onto the Illinois side yet?
We're not yet. So last year it was very, we weren't sure what we were doing, admittedly. So we kept it pretty small in terms of the number of schools. But it turned out so well.
Awesome.
We're looking at exploring the Illinois side of the river probably next year. This year, I think we're just kind of moving up and down the Mississippi a little bit further. So we'll expand down. I think we're going to take like some kids from Muscatine. We'll take some kids from Clinton,
awesome.
as well as the kids on the Davenport side of the river here. And but the plan is, over time, as we get more comfortable with it, as we fine tune the process, to continue to expand it to more schools, and potentially also take it with us to other regions. We have 3 3 offices in Eastern Iowa, so there's no reason that we can't do one in Waterloo, one here in the Quad Cities, one down in Mount Pleasant, Burlington area, and continue to kind of grow the trades industries here in Eastern Iowa.
It's an awesome thing. So hopefully your school has it, but if you're interested in that kind of stuff, and you know Julian's on social media, or I don't know, are you on social media anymore? Maybe you're not.
I am on social media. I am. I still have a Facebook. I operate on Instagram, but I do it as the Quad City Throwing Club.
Okay, well, just if you're interested, get a hold of me, and if you have any questions for Julian, I know it's not a sign-up thing, but I can always, just in Shaw Electric, Shaw University, the trades, anything, you get a hold of me, I'll get you to Julian. It's a very cool thing that they're starting at Shaw Electric, so well done. Julian Vandervelde joining us right now. Julian, when I think football, but I do think food, and it's not because you're a big old offensive lineman, because I feel like I'm catching up with everybody when it comes to staying in my house all day and eating. But I have enjoyed many lunches and barbecues with you and all that kind of stuff. You know your stuff. So I think Super Bowl, and it's funny, I just said to my wife earlier this week, I'm going to start getting after it. I do this every year, and there's always you get done with the holidays and you're like, all right, I got to start getting back after it and eat healthy. And then January's sneaky bad. It really, really is. And it's a lot of football going on. And for me, there's a Royal Rumble coming up. So I like to eat while I watch wrestling and, veg out all day. And then the Super Bowl, you can't not eat during the Super Bowl. So I'm telling everybody right now, after the Super Bowl, I'm going to get after it, but I'm going to eat until I can't eat anymore at the Super Bowl. So I have my top 5 things you have to have during the Super Bowl. I'm going to give you my list first, and then I'll have you give me yours. Would that work? Okay. At
Absolutely.
number 5 for me,
it.
I'm a chips and salsa kind of guy. I feel like there's got to be some chips and salsa. I feel like I'm biased. You see his commercial here on the show. Snoop's Chips and Salsa is where it's at. That's the GOAT. That's the best. But chips and salsa in general have to be there. My number 4 is pizza. And I'm not overly big on, because pizza can be filling. And I don't want to sit and have a huge meal. I want to have a bunch of everything. But a slice of pizza, some type of pizza, always enjoyable during the game. My number 3 might be too high for some, but meatballs, and not big old Italian meatballs, but those cocktail meatballs. Usually they're in barbecue. I think my wife uses barbecue sauce and grape jelly, something like that. It's weird. I see her put stuff in a crock pot, mix it up. It looks weird, but when it's done, it's delicious. I love some meatballs. I got to have wings at number 2. And I'm weird, and this might be a weird thing, but have you ever had wings from Jewel?
Yeah, honestly, I can't remember. That's
Jewel
not what we had
wings.
on the air one time, was it?
Yeah, it might have been, yeah, because we did a chicken wing eating contest. It may have been. I'm a sucker for any wings I'm good with. I'm not saying, but for some reason, when I'm watching football, I like Jewel wings. You go to Jewel, you get a bucket or 2 or 6 or 10 buckets of chicken, and you eat some wings. So wings in any way, shape, or form, but I like Jewel wings. And my number 1 thing to eat, bacon wrapped weenies with the brown sugar on top and the toothpick. And I love them. I make them myself, make a big old crock pot. And you don't think you have a lot of them. They're like donut holes. You're you don't want to eat a dozen donuts. I just had a donut hole. But then if you start adding up the donut holes, you're like, son of a bitch, I think I ate a dozen donuts. Well, that's the way it is with the bacon wrapped weenies. It's I just had 2 or 3. And then you start thinking, well, I had 2 or 3 probably a dozen times throughout the day. So that's my list. Number 1, bacon wrapped weenies. Number 2, wings, preferably Jewel for me. Number 3, the cocktail meatballs or whatever you want to call them. Number 4, some type of pizza from someplace. Get some in the Quad Cities. Tons of great pizza in the Quad Cities. And number 5, you got to have your chips and salsa. Snoop's Chips and Salsa is where it's at. And then it's a caveat, Julian. I hate the pinwheels. You know what I'm talking about? The little,
yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And some people freaking love those things. They got a pickle in it and some cream cheese and a bunch of stupidness. I hate those. So I hope they're not in your top 5, but I hate pinwheels, I think is what it is. So there's my top 5. I actually did more work on this than any prep I've done on anything this week for the show, which is a little weird, but I'm kind of proud of. So Julian Vandervelde, lay it on me. Give me your top 5. I'm going to write them down because I'm going to put these on social media. Your top 5 foods you got to have during the Super Bowl.
Okay, so if we're going like bottom to top, because
I did.
The first thing
You can do
that
either
came to
way.
mind was wings.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I have to start at number 1. Number 1 for me has to be wings. It's I'm a huge wings guy. I'm really weird though with my I will sit there and eat wings for hours. All right, if you give me the chance, I'll just house like a 40-piece of traditional wings. But the thing that makes it weird is I've got a thing about undercooked food, and I've got a thing about overcooked food, and I love my food to be like cooked too much. So when I order wings from someplace, I'll always tell them like, listen, I need these like extra crispy, double fried, like as crispy as you are legally allowed to prepare the chicken for me, right? Yes, what my wife who's sitting next to me and is going to continue to chime in is saying she would consider it inedible. All right, so that's but still that's the thing. If I get them right, I won't stop. I'll just keep going.
Let me jump in. Let me jump in because I love the wing debate. Drumettes or the like middle section of the wing, or do you care?
I will do either. I'm a flats guy.
Okay.
I think because you can just, if you do it right,
Yeah.
you can take the whole thing off in one go.
And you got to have bone-in wings. I mean, isn't boneless wings? That's just chicken nuggets.
They're chicken nuggets. That's all it is freaking chicken nuggets, man. You got to have the bone in there.
All right. Number 1, wings. I appreciate
That's what
it.
she said.
That was my number 2. So I like it. All right. Number 2.
Okay, so number 1. All right, so number 2, I'm kind of with you in terms of everything's got to be small because I want to have a little bit of everything, right? So like sliders, right? It doesn't matter what kind. You could have like the ham and cheese sliders with the the stuff poured over the top. They could be burger sliders. As long as there's some sort of little slider there, I'm down for it. You went chips and salsa for me at number 3. I'm not necessarily going to specify chips and dip.
Okay.
There has to be a dip. The dip can be buffalo chicken. It can be spinach artichoke, right? Yeah. It could be, I'm not as big on like a 7-layer dip, but I can do that, right? I have a friend who makes like an Italian sort of dip. Good. Okay. Some sort of chips and dip. Definitely got to have that. Those are up there pretty high. I like a dessert item. So for number 4, I'm going to go with something sweet.
I forgot about a dessert.
You brought up donut holes.
I forgot about a dessert.
You brought up donut holes. I'm not a donut hole kind of person. I don't necessarily like the store-bought, just like a carton of cookies, right? The more generic it is, the more I don't want it.
I like that.
But there has to be some sort of dessert item because I don't feel like the meal's really over unless I've had a little sweet treat. You know what I mean? It's where we live in little treat culture, and that's for me. Excuse me. And then the last one, I'm right there with you on some sort of like tiny sausage, right? The bacon wrapped weenies, phenomenal. A bag of little Smokies in a crock pot with barbecue sauce, just as good. Yeah. Does not matter to me. I will hammer those things down. It's something that I can hit with a toothpick. That's it. That's what I like. I like stabbing it. I want something that I can stab with a toothpick and eat like 40 of them. That's my number 5.
I love it. So Julian, the number is 40 because he mentioned 40 a couple times. So he's having 40 wings. He's doing, I don't know what I wrote down. Oh, slider. And the slider,
a tray of sliders,
you know what I recently had was the Hawaiian rolls. And it's like ham and Swiss with some garlic butter on the top, and it's put in the oven. and then cut up,
Mm-hmm.
and it's right there. So sliders at 2. 3 is chips and dip, and you nailed it. And it's got to be a good dip. Like, I love a good Mexican dip too. Like a queso dip or something like that works as well. So good call on that at 3. Dessert. How about like some brownies too? Or like, but they gotta be homemade. Don't give me something in a plastic thing open up. But my wife makes great brownies. There's that cookie and brownie together. Have you ever done that nonsense? Where it's like a brookie.
Yeah, the brookies.
Yeah.
We're a big brookie house.
Yes. Then
big brookie house.
I'm literally doing this as I'm finishing up this segment. And then bacon wrap weenie or some type of weenie. You're right. A cocktail weenie absolutely kills it. So those are 2 fantastic top 5s. It's got me really hungry. I can't let you go without getting, last but not least, a prediction. I'm assuming it's going to be Fly Eagles Fly, but give me a prediction on the Super Bowl itself.
Oh man, it's tough. I am going to go Eagles. I'm not a bettor. I know you and Tom, and you get into the sports betting. I know a lot of people do the sports betting.
Yeah.
I still don't fully understand how they calculate overs and unders and stuff like that. I know you're supposed to bet the over unless Iowa's playing, in which case you always bet the under or stuff like that.
There's something to that.
So I am. What did they set it at? 50? Is it like Chiefs minus 1.5?
Yeah, it's basically a pick 'em, or I'm going to look at it. But believe it or not, I have a sports betting app right here. Weird how that works. Who knew? 1 or 7. 1 or 7 are sitting right here. So it is 48.5, which feels kind of low. But you know what? Running the football, both teams are going to try to run the football. But defenses are both good. It's not your normal shootout, I don't think.
No, but I do think we're going to get some. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 27-24.
Okay.
Philadelphia, and I think we walk it off. I think Philly ends with the ball, runs it, tie game, runs it down, gets it inside the 30 and walks it off on a field goal. That's going to be my prediction. Lock that in. Take it to Vegas. All right, you can take it to the bank. It's done. It's over.
The beauty part is you don't even have to go to Vegas. Everybody who's watching this can grab their phone and just blow all of their savings because Julian Vandervelde told me to do that. So, hey man, I appreciate this.
Good.
This was a lot of fun. We got to figure out some other stupid reasons to get you back on the show because I love the top 5. I think the top 5, we absolutely nailed it. So I appreciate you. Enjoy the Super Bowl if I don't see you, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Sounds good, my brother. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, he is Julian Vandervelde. We have a lot more to get to. He mentioned Tom Kakert coming up. We're going to talk a little wrestling. The Royal Rumble is this weekend. My good friends Tom Kakert and Don Umland will be by here soon to break down the weekend that is coming up in Indianapolis. All that and a lot more right here on Off the Air.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. and the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. If you're hearing weird noises during the commercial breaks, it's because Tom Kakert's here, and there's also somebody else here as well. It is Royal Rumble season. Tommy, first off, welcome.
Hello.
You look good. Usually we're here talking Hawkeyes.
It's an off weekend for my men's basketball beat. So
yeah, we haven't had Tommy Tuesday, so I figured there's a big event coming up. The Royal Rumble is coming up, so I brought in Tom Kakert, a fellow professional wrestling fan, and then also we couldn't do this segment without another good friend of mine. Without further ado, the one and only. He wanted an entrance, Don Umland.
Uh-oh.
Yes. All right. Cut my music. We're good.
Holy cow.
I hope people are laughing about that. You gotta get close to the mic.
I'll get close to the mic.
Get a little closer to me, buddy.
We're sending this to Mrs. Umland.
I'm comfortable with the mic.
Do you think we can send this to Mrs. Umland?
You think this is Cody's?
Did you steal it?
My mic.
Okay.
Owens did. I did.
All right.
It's a winged eagle, baby.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
It's the winged eagle.
I gotta make sure you guys are all cranked up. All right, we're gonna talk about the Royal Rumble. I'm gonna try to get some sanity back in this place. We are sharing a microphone, so don't get a little too close with me here. We're gonna get another microphone on the show too. So the Royal Rumble is coming up on Saturday in Indianapolis, and I am not going, but Tommy, you and Don and my brother Larry, your guys' favorite Randazzo,
the number one,
are heading down.
The tribal chief of
your second Royal Rumble. What is it about the Royal Rumble that makes it? It's just a special event. It's just different.
It's fun. It's fun. You got all the, 30 different people, and you got all the intros, and everybody's kind of in the ring, and it's fun. It's going to be awesome. And you got the Cody and Kevin Owens match that'll, a ladder match with the winged eagle.
That's right. You just never, it's got everybody anybody's going to be there, and you're going to get surprises, and you got 70,000 people are going to be jammed into Lucas Oil, and it's just, you just get one pop after another. It's the best.
I think that's the beauty, because you got the shirt on that says just enjoy wrestling.
Yes.
I sometimes get, this is going to seem weird, a little bored by longer matches.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about the Royal Rumble is every 2 minutes or 5 minutes?
Minute and a half.
Every minute and a half, you get something.
2, isn't it?
No,
you get something.
Minute and a half this year.
Oh, okay.
So do you want me to take your belt, or you want to put it over your shoulder?
No, I feel better with it. I want to hold on.
All right, so here's what I want to do for anybody who's still watching this, and God bless you if you are. I want to break down the Royal Rumble. We got the men's Royal Rumble. Yep. We got the women's Royal Rumble. And I'm not going to sit here and handicap this like I need to explain to non-wrestling people what's going on. We're going to talk wrestling. So if you're a wrestling fan, welcome. But I'm not going to explain the entire time this is what happens in this. And so we're just going to talk wrestling. So men's Royal Rumble coming up. Let's go ladies first. So I gave you guys some homework. Okay. I want your women's winner, but I think Don went above and beyond. If you want to do your final four, that's fine. And then your winner and a surprise entrant, somebody that we're not expecting. Now, caveat there. Charlotte Flair's already been announced in it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she is
can't
not
be on the roster.
She is not a surprise when it comes to that.
Can't be on the roster.
So, Don, I'll let you go first.
I have two that I think could show up. I think Nikki Bella could make the surprise return because there's been rumblings that she's going to be back. And then a TNA wrestler named Jordan Gracie is the big signee that she just kicks ass, and I think she's going to show up in the Rumble. I think that's the surprises for me.
Do you want my surprise?
Lay it on us.
AJ Lee.
Oh. No, I don't think so, though. It'd be great. This guy would pop out of his mind.
That would be a surprise.
That would be.
Is Bailey, not Bailey, I'm sorry, is Becky Lynch a surprise? Is she on the roster?
She's on the roster.
She's on the roster.
So that's not a surprise, somebody you haven't seen in
She's my
forever?
pick to win.
Becky's your pick to. Okay, well, slow down. We'll start with you, Don. Give me your Final Four and how do you see the women's Royal Rumble going?
I think the Final Four are Becky, Charlotte, Bianca, and Liv. And I think they all have storylines that tie into each other.
Becky, Bianca, Charlotte, and Liv. Okay.
Yep. That's what I think.
Okay, who wins it?
Charlotte Flair.
Well.
He made the noise.
In her big return. I think Charlotte and Becky are the last two in the ring, in my guess.
So what I do is I look at like, where does this go to WrestleMania? So the winner gets a title shot at WrestleMania, and that kind of fits nicely. If Charlotte wins, then maybe she's Tiffy
Stratton's in the waiting.
Yeah. All right, Tom.
Tiffy time.
All right, lay it on us. So you got the Final Four as here. Here, I'm going to put this right.
I didn't know we were doing Final Four, so I don't.
You just got to think a little bit more. It's okay.
I think pretty similar. I think Jade Cargill will be in the Final Four.
So Jade counts as not a surprise because she's on the
roster. Okay. Yeah, I think Jade will be in the Final Four with Bianca and Becky and Charlotte.
I think Naomi and that gets exposed why Jade got hurt,
but I think this is where you start to see the Jade versus Bianca feud, perhaps.
Possibly. So Nia Jax doesn't make the Final Four for you.
No, they'll toss her out.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
So Don, you had Becky, and then you had Liv,
Charlotte.
Matt, who do you have? You didn't do a surprise either.
He's thinking off our choice.
Who's my surprise? My surprise. I thought Becky would be a surprise, but if you can't do that because she's not really. I mean, she's a free agent, is she not?
She's on the roster.
Is she on the roster?
Yeah.
I don't think she's on the roster.
Where's
Larry Randazzo when you need him?
She has done all of like the PR stuff for the Netflix.
I thought she could show up at AEW anytime, any place, anywhere.
Netflix.
Okay.
She was doing all the PR for Netflix.
Right.
Well, Larry's favorite wrestler, female wrestler,
Alexa Bliss.
She could show up. That would be the other surprise entrant.
I'm going to go with Jordan Grace. That's the one. That's the slam dunk. They have the TNA crossover promotion thing now. You saw her last year. She made a big impact. So, and I'm going to say she's in my Final Four.
Wow.
I'm going to say she's in the Final Four. Charlotte's in the Final Four. Liv is in the Final Four. And I will go with Bianca in the Final Four as well.
Right.
So you don't think Charlotte's in the Final Four?
I do. I said Charlotte.
Oh, okay. Becky, which one?
Becky, Charlotte, Liv. No, Jordan, Charlotte, Liv, and Bianca.
So Becky doesn't make it.
No.
Okay.
I don't even know if Becky's in the thing.
I think she's back.
And then I do think the winner is Charlotte as well. Who did you have as the winner?
Becky.
Okay, so I have Charlotte as. I just think that fits in nicely. And the thing
part-time
with
Quad Cityan.
The thing with the Rumble is it sets up just not even just the winner, but what happens throughout the Masters is going to set up WrestleMania. So one thing I could see is the storyline with Jade and Bianca.
There you go.
Moving on. That's why I don't think Bianca wins, because I think it's going to probably be Jade and Bianca at WrestleMania. Yeah. So I don't think that's what happens there. Becky's just interesting. She's a wild card. I don't know where that goes. So, all right, that's our women's Royal Rumble winner. Let's go to the men's side. And there's so many. I think this is so. Full disclosure: we went to the Royal Rumble in 2021. 22, and it was arguably the worst Royal Rumble ever. Yes. It was fun. We had a blast. But it was, I think, when it comes to actual substance and watching it from home and all that kind of stuff, I don't think it was very good. You guys are arguably now, without me, because I'm a good dad and I'm going to stay back and coach my kids, are going to the greatest one of all time. So we went Don first last time, so this time we'll go Tommy first. I don't know if you want to give me your Final Four.
I can do that. Do you want my surprise first?
Yeah, let's go surprise first. I don't even.
Joe Hendry.
I'm right with him. I think that's the surprise entry. And that's that crossover thing again. I mean, he's not on a roster for WWE.
He's a champion right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
I believe.
It makes sense. I hadn't even thought of it. Let me brainstorm on one because I don't want to say the same thing. Okay. So,
or how about this one? Santino Marella.
Oh, brother.
There's going to be something stupid. I think that's the thing is I don't think they have so many people right now. I don't think they need to make another switch to like go back to old guys that just are fillers. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that nice pop because it's a wrestler you remembered from way back in the day, but you don't need. There's so many already on the rostered. I don't think there's going to be a lot of surprises. I don't think there's room for a lot of surprises.
There's not a lot of room.
Like when you start mapping it out, which I was going to do, but I didn't do my homework. But if you start matching
that
it,
Hurricane Helms not going to come
that's
popping
the thing
out?
is like,
no.
and like not, and he's in AEW, but like the Gold Dusts or like, just like, old school, like pops just to get a pop.
Up? What if Will Ospreay?
Okay, let's not get crazy here. What if Hulk Hogan shows up?
Well, he could show up, but
He could, but they'll boo him out of the building.
Yes.
Right now.
All right, so I'll come up with my surprise when I do mine. We'll go with Tommy first. Talk about your how this thing ends.
Four. Mm-hmm. Want the final four? The Viper, Randy Orton, John Cena.
Oh, I didn't have Orton there.
CM Punk. And Roman Reigns.
Wow. You and I only matched 2.
I love that. Okay, hold on. Let him go.
And I have Punk winning.
Let him finish his time.
I have Punk winning.
Who are your final 2?
I think it's probably. I think it's Punk and Reigns, and I think there's something with that favor. I think something that gets thrown out there about that favor.
I don't hate that, but I don't know how does the favor work.
I don't know.
Like it's not like Heyman can say Roman get out of the ring or lose.
Think there's going to be
have that kind of power.
Something like that.
That'd be a wonky bad way to end the Royal Rumble,
but it'd be fun.
Okay, so Tom has Punk beating Reigns in the last group. Donnie, give it to us.
All right.
Get a little closer.
Punk and Roman, I agree with. Not put those 2 down for me.
Okay. No Cena, huh?
Not done yet.
Wow.
Punk and Roman, you agree with?
Yep.
Okay.
Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins, all connected in storylines that have some connections. I think Roman and Punk are the last 2. And I think the favor is, drumroll please, we see Lesnar come back and destroy or take out Roman. Talk about a pop.
And then
that's the favor.
And then Punk wins.
That's
actually pretty good. There's so many different ways they could go with this. It's actually pretty good. But let me give you the correct way here in a second. Go ahead, Tom.
He's not coming back.
That's fine. But I do think this. I think Cena gets knocked out by Logan Paul and sets those 2 up for a match.
At WrestleMania.
Yes. Despite what happens at that Elimination Chamber, those are the 2 that wrestle at Mania.
I really think it's going to end up being Cody and Cena somehow at WrestleMania.
Maybe.
That's a box office match.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
Complete box office.
Okay.
Let me correct you guys where everything is at. At the end of the night, they want to have their 4 biggest names in the ring.
Agreed.
And there's probably, you could go 8 or 10 or probably 20 wrestlers who are all bigger than guys that are AEW, but like they got a lot of heavy names. Like they got a lot of big names. So I'm going to go with Punk and Roman or no doubters and Cena. Cena ain't in the Royal Rumble to get taken out early on at any time. There's no way. And then in order to keep that storyline going, our guy from the Quad Cities who gets shit on for no reason, Seth Rollins.
What if Seth and Becky both win?
Well, I don't think Seth wins, but I think Seth eliminates CM Punk, and I don't find it early in the match. I don't find it where they're like, they're on number 15 still, and all of a sudden, Punk comes in and Seth eliminates him right away. I can see a scenario where they both eliminate each other at the same time. And if that happens earlier, then that lead. But that's going to happen again at WrestleMania.
By the way, first men's Rumble entry will be.
Ooh.
I wrote this down too.
Oh.
You know who it is, don't you, Don? Who is it?
Who do you think it is? Oh,
Jey Uso. Yeah, it's Yeet, because he can come out there and eat for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I thought he'd be near the first, and he can go in that match for.
Will you be eating, Don?
Of course.
You will?
I want you to send me video, just after video after video. We might have to have a live webcam on the guy who just walked onto my show wearing sunglasses, a scarf, and a belt. Nothing makes me happier.
I did have to bring a little AEW.
Yeah, I know you do. Who's your first guy out there? Be loud because I don't know how much.
Well, I think it could be Jay. I do have a prediction who I think will have the most eliminations. I think it could be Braun Breaker.
Yeah.
I mean, or Drew.
I could see Braun being an early entry.
How about Omos?
No. He's back.
He'll be there.
Who cares?
But they don't need stuff like that. That's what I'm saying. They don't need that. He'll probably be in it.
They'll have like a Omos versus Braun Strowman standoff or something.
Can I go back?
Strowman's probably dead.
Can I go
still.
back to my
you know who will
original
have
point?
the most people they toss out is Jacob Fatu.
That was my other one of the. He destroys people.
Yes.
I don't know if he throws people out.
No, I think he's the and what was your most?
Breaker.
And what was yours?
Thrown out?
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. No, I think it's Fatu. That's a fantastic call.
But Fatu would be good.
That's they and I'm telling you, like, he's eventually going to be a big time main event player in this thing. If he was rolling back in 2022 when we went to the first time, he would be one of the biggest names in the business. There's just so many big time guys in WWE right now. There's none in AEW, but there's so many big time guys in WWE. So, anyways, back to my final four.
Off the top rope.
I think CM Punk and Rollins. I think Rollins eliminates CM Punk.
Okay, so the favor doesn't come into play.
No, and it costs him his shot at WrestleMania and the main event at WrestleMania. That's the big thing. And then it might even get to a point where they may main event night one. That match might, but then it gets into the storyline of like Seth saying the reason you're in the main event at WrestleMania is because of me. So, anyways, that kind of sets aside, and then that leaves it down to Cena and Roman Reigns. And I think Cena wins. I think Cena comes back, wins the Royal Rumble, and I think he picks Cody to face at WrestleMania. Although, with that being said, I do kind of find a different way of when Randy gets in there, how somehow Randy ends up eliminating. No, I guess that doesn't work. I can see Randy and Cody at WrestleMania as well.
Okay, so I have two questions for you. Does Kevin Owens get involved in the Rumble? Does Kevin Owens get involved in the Rumble after his first match, which he probably will lose? Does he come back and take somebody out during the Rumble?
No, but the Sami Zayn hitting the wrong guy thing continues.
Come into play?
Rumble.
Absolutely.
Because it's going to be Sami versus KO at WrestleMania.
Yes,
probably.
There's WrestleMania is absolute. Are you working that weekend?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, but I'll be around for night 2.
Night 2? That's it?
I can drive back. Fine, I'll drive back.
Unbelievable.
All right, one more question.
You go with everybody else to the Royal Rumble, but you can't even watch WrestleMania
I'll
with me.
make it work.
All right.
One more question.
We're not done. We got more.
I know. Does The Rock appear at WrestleMania, or is he in the Rumble? Because that changes this whole dynamic.
So I think somehow, way, shape, and form, that's why Cena ends up winning. Is because The Rock screws over Roman somehow, some way. Now, maybe The Rock gets eliminated. Maybe he's even in it, gets eliminated early, a little bit earlier than that, still on the ringside, or comes down
Could battle
to
for
show
the People's Championship.
to show support for Roman, and ends up screwing over Roman
Maybe
Reigns.
that's the favor. He screws Roman, and whatever that does, that leads to Punk winning it. Maybe.
All right.
I mean, that's a possibility.
I think we're confusing people more than anything else. So your winner of the Men's Royal Rumble, Tommy, is Punk. I hate you guys.
I know.
My winner is John Cena.
You going with Cena?
I'm going to go with Cena.
Okay.
And then for the women's one, it's Becky, Charlotte. Mm-hmm. Your surprises, I got to think of a guy's surprise because Joe Hendry is obviously to me, a surprise is a guy coming back, which is Randy Orton. Like, to me, that's a surprise coming back.
He's still on the roster. It's got to be a guy who's like not active.
But I don't know if there's going to be too many. Maybe then I'll go Joe Hendry. I don't think they got the room.
Not many.
Like, there's no room in this.
There's no legend. They're going to have Kane come back.
Do you have Hogan? I mean, is Hogan in it?
I just think the crowd reaction from the last time.
Hogan
He might be around to promote his beer.
No. But that's the thing is the crowd reaction is the thing. They don't care if it's a cheer or a boo. He did something, and I think that's what makes him more relevant again. Is that they're going to want to capitalize on? Yeah, if people hate him. Plus, you got to remember where they're at. They're in California. They were in California.
What if it's
in Indianapolis? Hulk Hogan's reaction might be different than California, and that's just true. Politically speaking. Yeah. Obviously, his support for Donald Trump and stuff don't roll very well in California. Probably rolls a little better in Indianapolis, Indiana.
His issue is not that
Trump. What is his issue? Why do people boo him?
his racist comments.
Oh, I thought it was
This
more.
is a wrestling show.
I thought, yeah, we're not
It's
talking.
a
We're
political
yeah.
show.
Thank you for the save. Leave it to the referee for the save. I thought it was more the other way around, but it's I think a combination of the both.
Okay, so if you want to give me a surprise entry, it's my theory, which is a long shot. Brock Lesnar shows up. He doesn't even have to wrestle,
and he's not on the roster.
No, we just don't know where he is legally with
No,
everything.
they're not.
Talk about a pop.
They're not going to have.
Okay.
I get the pop, but I think it'd be great, and I don't poo-poo it as much as Tommy. Tommy doesn't like to have as much fun as we do.
I know.
He's a fun.
I enjoy having fun. I'm just being realistic.
Just enjoy.
All right, there is another. Or do you think that? What's the order of the event?
That's a good question.
Do we know that yet?
No.
I think.
Do you bookend it and go like a Royal Rumble? So what was it? You guys remember more than I do. What was it at WrestleMania or when we went? Wasn't it Rollins and Reigns? Didn't they open it almost?
I think Owens' match opens it, then the women, because then if Owens is going to reappear, he's got time to come back. So I'm going with the Owens match first.
And what is the card? Tommy's looking it up. What is there? Is it just the men's, the women's, the Royal Rumble, and
we got the tag match?
Tag match, 2 out of 3 falls.
Which doesn't
DIY.
Which doesn't do anything for me.
No,
especially making
that's
it
why
2
you
out
could
of 3
arrive
falls.
late if that's the first match.
Yeah, but I don't think it's gonna. Remember, you got to open the opener and the end are the two
That's
biggest.
the precursor to the men.
I don't think you can have Cody Rhodes not at the beginning or the end. Doesn't
so
he have
when
to
we
be
went, when we went, it was Rollins Reigns first, then the women's Rumble.
Yeah.
Then Becky beat Doudrop. And then,
thank God you called her Dewdrop.
Well, that's what
she was called.
I know,
it's
but not
name.
something else.
It says Doudrop, and then there was a Bobby Lashley Lesnar match that I had forgotten about. But yeah.
So is it just the 4?
And then it was Edge and Beth Phoenix against Miz and Maurice.
And then the men.
And then the men.
So I feel like there's got to be more that you're going to find out.
So it's either going to be Cody or the tag match first.
I think it's Cody first.
And then the women's Rumble, and then the other match, and then
2 out of 3 falls. And then
I think it might be
But
Cody
are we
first.
saying there's just 4 matches? They're not going to add anything else to this.
No.
Well, each Rumble averages an hour and 10 minutes. Hour 5.
It's true.
So there's 2:10 in itself. So then you have a 2 out of 3 falls and probably a lengthy.
Yeah.
You might have something as a surprise.
I feel like maybe they can add something as they go along, but you're not going to do the Intercontinental because Braun Breaker is going to be in the Royal Rumble. So, all right, well, let's get to that championship match. I'd love to be able to say that like KO has a chance to even win this thing, but I'm not meaning that in a negative way. I like Cody Rhodes, but like, sell me on this isn't Cody winning. Like Cody wins this match. There's no there's no scenario I can think of in which Kevin Owens walks out of there as
if they were going to
champion.
Have Kevin actually win, they would have done it at like Saturday night's main event or something.
I agree. I mean, both belts are going to be hanging up there, which with a ladder match.
Because you want Cody going into WrestleMania with the belt on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know that. But how does it happen? It's got to happen. It's not going to be a clean victory.
Well, not with a ladder match because you can have outside interference of any capacity. So this isn't going to be just those two.
It is a ladder match.
You're going to have some run-ins.
What if Sammy comes down there and he comes to help Cody and then he ends up kicking Cody in there?
Okay, there's a couple people I think you can see in this. It's Sammy, but I also feel like Randy's involved in this somehow, some way.
Yeah, he's brought up Randy so many times lately about him being his mentor and everything. And,
yep, and I think
Kevin's the one that put Randy out of commission.
So does Randy come back to help him or come back to screw him?
Well, I just wonder if we'll see Kevin Owens in the Rumble, and that's where all that comes down.
That I think he comes back in the Rumble.
That's kind of what I think. I mean, that's what when we went in 22. That's Lesnar came back in the Rumble and ended up winning.
Yes. Yeah.
You
I
know.
somehow it has to advance. Randy's going to come back and get involved in that storyline.
Yeah.
I just don't know, and I would love to see Cody and Randy at WrestleMania. So that would mean the winner of the Rumble would have to take on Gunther. That's what I don't get is I don't know how Gunther ties into this whole thing. One, he's not in the Royal Rumble,
right?
And 2, he's not on the card.
I know.
Could he still enter late into the Rumble?
Why would he enter the Rumble?
Probably not. I mean, I don't think he takes a spot. So
That's why, like with the WrestleMania Saturday Night's Main Event, Nia Jax was
Maybe
gonna.
Ludwig Kaiser will be in there.
It was what was it on Friday night? Like Nia said, "Hey, I'm in the Royal Rumble. I know I'm gonna beat Rhea tomorrow night, and then I'm gonna win the Royal Rumble, and then I'm gonna be Like you knew right then and there. One, you knew she wasn't gonna beat Rhea to begin with.
Yeah.
But like and you never mentioned Nia Jax when it came to. Isn't she a Final Four person?
No, I think they toss her.
I think she gets tumbled at some point. Yeah.
Okay, so Gunther has to be involved in the night somehow. You can't have a champion of one of your brands or a world champion not be part of the Royal Rumble,
Well,
right?
He could come out and dump Jay out or affect Jay because they're still having words.
But what's his role? I mean, is he the champion still at WrestleMania?
Going into?
Going into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who's his opponent at WrestleMania?
You have a guess?
I feel like all lanes lead to Cody
Punk.
and that stuff.
You think Punk?
Yeah.
At WrestleMania?
Yeah.
No, Punk and Rollins are at WrestleMania. That's locked.
How about Logan Paul?
I can't wait for
Yeah, it
Rollins
could be Logan
to
Paul.
I think
Punk.
Logan Paul.
We could see Logan Paul and Cena at WrestleMania.
Yeah. I think there's something of that brash attitude that you could put those two together.
I just
Because
feel
remember, Cena's match at WrestleMania isn't necessarily his last match because he's wrestling the year. So it doesn't have to be like his swan song.
the cool part about the women's side is that you can see the person that wins it has a decision to make.
Yes.
I don't see that with the men's winner. Whoever wins the men's Royal Rumble is going to want to take on Cody.
Depending
And that's
on who
weird.
wins,
That's
but
weird.
yes,
Well, who would win that would want to take on Gunther?
probably
Jay?
he'd be the only one, and
Jay's not going to win the Royal Rumble.
And Drew is going after the world title, the Universal.
Yeah, all roads lead to that title, and it feels like the other one's kind of forgotten about right now,
A little bit.
and that bugs me.
No, we're gonna find out. Can we talk about Triple H?
Yes, we can. I'm trying to see how much time we actually have left in the show. I can stop the show or end the show or whenever I want to, which is the beauty part of it.
You are in charge. You are.
I don't know if anybody's still watching this, and if they're not,
Don
oh well.
is-
And
Don
if you
is-
are watching it,
Don
and you
likes
like
to
it.
be in charge. Did you
We
know
are
that?
actually going to start a wrestling podcast. I know a lot of people do those kind of things, but I believe in pro wrestling.
I believe in pro wrestling.
Nailed it.
There
So
you go.
I don't even know if people can hear you. One, I need to get another microphone. That's the main
Do
thing.
you have
that
an
I learned
intro
with
for
this.
Don?
I do have an intro. Let me pull it up.
Well,
Yeah, let's see it.
his heart. I don't have an intro. I promise. Okay, so Triple H. So who is in the? Is that the first Hall of Fame?
The first Hall of Fame inductee for this year is Paul Triple H Levesque, who is obviously our in charge of content for WWE now over the last year, and now is.
You don't have to explain that. Nobody's watching this that doesn't care about wrestling anymore. Trust me.
But I care about Triple H. He's my
Yeah.
guy. He's my favorite guy. I'm very excited.
Yeah,
that
but you love his competition more.
That's not. No, I come on. I like AEW. I mean, I know I'm in the
Nobody
minority.
says that.
I do.
No, you don't like it, but you support it. You watch it.
I like it. The wrestling's good.
It's
the rest.
no, it's not. It's the same as in
There's
WWE.
a few people out there that agree with me.
No, who?
Well, who has an AEW belt that you know?
Oh, Caesar.
Caesar?
I wonder if Caesar's
Thank
even.
you,
I
Caesar.
should have told Caesar
Caesar's there.
to watch the show. He does watch every so often.
There is competition. Well, I don't call it competition. There is another.
Oh, Jordan's
show.
talking to us.
See,
Jordan Ringo.
What's he
please
saying?
anybody. It says please anybody but Goldberg.
The tag match is
Goldberg,
going
maybe.
to be.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
He loves the tag match. He thinks it's going to be a banger. And then one entry is going to be Carmelo, number 2, Trick Williams.
Those were the other two I did consider could show up. That's good. Those are. Who's in the ring the longest? We always talk about who's going to last the long. Well, I'm cutting off a Triple H, but who do you think's in there the longest? I think
men?
Yeah, I think Jay.
So what you're doing is full disclosure, we have a fantastic questionnaire to fill out. Jordan
Yes.
Rangel does it every year, and it's awesome. But you're just giving away all your answers to those
Prediction.
guys.
It's not a prediction. It's a spoiler.
All right. Who's in the longest?
Yeah.
Jay.
My guess would be Jay because he's going to come in early.
Jay or Braun. Same thing as the most eliminations. Jay or Braun Breaker or Jacob Fatu. But I can see it being Jay. I'm trying to think who's the feel-good story.
He's going to kick that show off. Can you imagine when he walks out and comes through the crowd potentially?
I can't imagine it because I'm going to be watching in my living room.
Right.
I'm not going to be there amongst 70,000 people.
They're
going
going to go
nuts.
bananas when he comes out.
Who's that?
When Jay comes out.
Yeah, it's going to be
They're
great.
going to go nuts.
Okay, so for the women's side of things, who's the person who stays in the longest?
I'll let you go first. I think I
got somebody too. I'm going to write it down.
Probably Liv.
That was my guess.
Liv or so I just
EO.
wrote down Liv.
Yeah.
I think they start it.
Liv and who?
EO.
Yeah.
See, I really dislike.
EO might be in there for a long time too.
Yeah, she can go. She can.
Or your girl Bailey.
I think Asuka comes back.
Yeah.
I think Asuka's back. That gets a pop.
Yeah. No.
But she's on the roster. But I think she comes back.
You know, I'm curious if they get thrown into this is like Javon Evans.
Oh.
Because he does crazy stuff. You know, he could do the old Kofi
That's
spot.
the one over in NXT.
NXT. Because he's like young Kofi, where he just flies through the air.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not going to pick on Don, but I want to talk about one more thing. Right. So you have the WWE, you have NXT, you have TNA, and you have AEW, and that's probably the way I would rank them. Wow. And I'm not trying to be mean. Wow. I'm not trying to be mean, but like, are we? It is this. I know you're an AEW guy, and I watch it, and I try, and it's good for business. It is great for the industry.
Mark Umland.
It's great for the industry if AEW is what they were, but they're not. What do they need to do? And don't just tell me keep doing great matches. What do they need to do to get back to where they were? Because when you have Jeff Jarrett as one of your main storylines, it's not good.
Cope.
It's not, and I love Edge, but they changed him to Cope. What's Cope?
I don't know why they did that.
But that's not good. You can't say it's good because they have good matches. Because somebody flips around a bunch of times.
Maybe we need.
I'm not being mean. If you were Tony Khan,
they've got like all these old guys. I thought the premise of AEW was young, exciting wrestlers, and they've got Edge, Mox.
Who's opened the show the last 2 weeks? Two of the best young wrestlers in the world.
Young?
Yeah, well, they're not old.
Who? Kenny?
And?
Kenny's like 40 years old.
Okay, and who's he come out with?
That's not old.
Well, that's old.
And who comes out with him?
Osprey.
Will freaking Osprey.
You can say whatever.
But they're not contending for a title.
It doesn't matter.
It
doesn't matter.
Sure, it does. Then you got MJF with his hairspray and his spray tan dripping down.
Here's what I'll say. If you are the WWE, I do this with like sports in general. I do this with Tommy and the Bears. Like, who do you fear? If you're a rival organization, who do you fear? If I'm a Lions fan, if the Bears get this person coaching wise, I would fear. There's not anybody. If I'm Triple H, then I'm like, I'm really worried that this guy is going to take over the business and be the next big thing, except for MJF. And he's on like a part-time schedule, and they don't use him correctly.
He's spiraling.
Right Bring your microphone down just a tiny bit, Tommy.
He's spiraling.
He's either spiraling or we're moving towards something big at some point. I don't know, but you're right.
If you're AEW, you don't need to slowly be moving towards anything big. You need to just get there. You need to get there quickly. So I'm in a nice way. I mean, not to beat up on Tommy or Donnie. They're
trying to build up like Hangman Page, who's one of the most uninteresting people in the history of pro wrestling.
So what do they need to improve on? How do they need to get back? Obviously, you can't go rewrite history and bring back Cody and bring back CM Punk. I mean, I think that's the frustrating part if you're an AEW guy, is that you just mentioned your 4 guys, and 2 of the 4 were in AEW.
It tells you about the importance of being able to tell a story.
That's where I'm going to, like, my thing is I'm a storyline guy. I appreciate pro wrestling, but it is, for anybody who's still watching this and doesn't love WWE or wrestling, it's a soap opera for guys. Right. And that's where there's disjointedness when it comes to their product. I will say this, though. While the storylines for WWE have been long-running with the Bloodline, and they really weave things together nicely, with the amount of main events, including Saturday Night's main event that they have right now, they're quickly throwing things together at some points. Yeah. Like that Saturday Night's main event seemed thrown together as quick as you possibly could. and it didn't seem like there was going to move any storylines. It didn't move anything. It was the
Neither
guy
of
you
them
expected to win was going to win, or the female expected was going to win. So I think the fact that they do have 2 big shows each week, plus Saturday night's main event, plus the PPEs, it makes it tougher for them to continue to develop storylines, but they do it at a much higher level as AEW. So without yelling at them, and we'll give them a hard time, how do you fix AEW?
I don't know. I just have to try to enjoy it for what it is. But I think they're trying to do a storyline with Moxley and them to blend through.
Yes.
And it's not to the magnitude of the Bloodline. It clearly is not.
It's bad. It showed promise early, but it's terrible now.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
He's so mean. I don't think it's bad, but I agree. Like, it's not Retribution, but it's not the Bloodline. It's somewhere in the vast middle of that.
I mean, WWE, if anything, their competition is just make sure, like you said, to stay fresh, because we got a lot of stuff on TV from them.
Yeah.
That you got to be like, okay, how can we keep this?
Well, it's surprising that Netflix was supposed to go to 3 hours for Raw, and it's 2.5 hours every week.
2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Which I understand. I say I'm 10 to noon every day, and I'm 11:45 going, I think I'm done. So which is getting close anyways.
Which does offer them some flexibility if they don't want to go 3, because I think SmackDown's going to go back to 2.
Yeah. It needs to. SmackDown's really kind of like taken a year ago, SmackDown was the show. Like, I had to watch that. It had all the good storylines and all that kind of stuff. I mean, they've really packed Raw. Obviously, they're going to do that when they move over to Netflix. They want to make that the big show. Yes. But it's really hurt. Like, I mean, SmackDown's kind of, but right now they have the transfer pool and everything's kind of the same and everything's blending together, and it's going to continue to blend together all the way through WrestleMania, and then they'll kind of reshuffle the deck and kind of go from there as well. What are you looking forward to as we wrap things up? What are you looking forward to the most on Saturday?
The car ride over with Don and Larry.
That'll be fun. I don't disagree. Man,
going to the
I'm
Eagle.
talking wrestling, not about
going to
stuff
the
that I'm gonna
Eagle.
miss out.
Going to the Eagle and eat.
No,
we're going to the Eagle and eat.
This will be new.
It's good.
You know what? The energy in the building, because as each of these, we're talking about this.
No, that's so cliche. That's so cliche. The energy in the building. Give me what is it? The men's Royal Rumble.
The men's Rumble.
Royal Rumble.
The men's Rumble.
Is the men's.
I'm excited to see the Owens match because I just love everything he does. Yeah, I really am. I think he's
a genius.
He can be a heel. He can do anything. I mean, there's very few people in the industry. There are a few that can be good guy, bad guy, love him, hate him, and you're interested.
Can I ask you one thing real quick? I agree with that. I think it's I would agree.
He's what John Moxley wishes he could be.
Okay, that's a low blow, but that's fine.
It's
accurate.
It's a low blow, but it's true.
But it is true.
Would you shoot? Now I lost my train of thought. I love the fact they made it a ladder match. Mm-hmm. I love that. That's a really good thing. So I would agree. It's the men's Royal Rumble, and then where does Solo Sikoa fit in all this kind of stuff? Is he in the Royal Rumble? Are they trying to get him away for a little bit?
He'll be in there.
I think he's in.
Yeah.
And do we get to a point where is there a chance of Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa? Is that too early to break that thing up?
Interesting.
Well, that's possible.
Well, he will not say he loves him anymore then.
That's true.
And that's one of the best shticks, and that's one of the best cheesiest things going is I love you,
Solo.
Solo.
Remember what Heyman said a year ago? He said we're like in inning 3.
Yeah, I think the bloodline thing's kind of played out.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, this weekend might reveal like where it goes in the long run. So
I don't think it's played out.
I don't think it's played out either.
I think there's more layers.
It depends if Dwayne Johnson's available. I
think Dwayne has got it. I think isn't WrestleMania Rock versus Roman?
No.
You don't think it is?
We thought of it a year ago.
He when he came out and played Mr. Nice Guy, that just told you everything you needed to know.
It was telling. I mean, I was like, really? This is how he's going to kick off?
Never thought of it that way at all. I thought of it that way as, hey, this is a look behind the curtain. I mean, you had people that were rivals before, and Cody and everything else. I don't think it had anything to do with it.
I mean, what is everybody clamoring for at the end of the day? Probably Rock and Roman. That's equal to like when Rock and Hogan met in Toronto. I mean, that's marquee moment.
I have heard they're not doing the new Bloodline. They're not calling them the new Bloodline anymore. I can't remember what they had it, but they're now going to go away from calling Solo Solo and Jacob Fatu and those guys. I
Generic
just don't
bloodline.
I just don't think you end it that quickly. But if
Discount
you're WWE,
bloodline.
I'm okay if you pull back a little bit, because remember what some of the greatest storylines in wrestling history. One of them is NWO, and they just kept on talk about beating a dead horse and the Wolf Pack and this person and the red and black and so I mean, you don't want to get to the point where you get stale. And people I honestly don't even think highly. I don't have good memories of the NWO because I remember how annoyed and how overdone it was towards the end that it just left a bad taste in my mouth, and I forget about the good things they did to the in the industry and all that kind of stuff. So I think there's a little protection of not wanting it to go downhill and become stale too quickly, and like the WWE does, and Paul Heyman's running that show. When it comes to the bloodline, he's running what's going on, and I think they'll continue to weave things through. They just have so many storylines and it's all weaving together. I don't know how they're weaving them all together. I mean, you look at it, you can go Cody to Randy to that side of things and go that direction.
Reed got hurt. He would have been fun.
That's true because he was on a pretty good roll.
And then that's a guy you're probably talking about most eliminations and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you think
have him and
nobody's still
Fatu
listening.
square off. Have him and Jacob Fatu square off.
Well, that's coming down the line when they're both healthy. We saw
big beefy men.
We saw that interlude during a Raw show for a moment. Everybody kind of went, yeah, that was an moment. So,
what was your favorite part of this show? Was it Don's entrance?
Yeah. I hope so.
Are you gonna make your wife watch that?
Absolutely.
She's not gonna watch anymore ever again.
No.
You just cost me a viewer.
I know.
Just make her subscribe. That's all we care about.
So, and if you guys don't like it, I'm sorry, but like during big events, we won't do this all the time. We're not going to do this every Monday night before WrestleMania, before Raw or before SmackDowns and all that kind of stuff. But we're going to talk wrestling on the show. You guys enjoy the Royal Rumble. I'm going to miss the heck out of it. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sit in my basement with my boys and Caesar, my tribal chief, because I love you, Caesar. And we're gonna and hopefully Jerry Burkhead and his boys will come over, and we're gonna watch wrestling over at my house, like the old like non-rich people get to do.
We'll wait for you.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We'll send you some videos.
I'm sure. And we will be getting started, and we'll get it out to everybody who cares that we'll be starting a I Believe in Pro Wrestling podcast, a weekly podcast coming up here real soon.
And maybe do them.
I need another microphone because I have no idea how much we even heard. Don,
do them.
I think we did decent
after PLEs. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll work it into here. So, guys, enjoy the Eagle. The Eagle, if you go to Indianapolis, is by far. I lived in Indianapolis. I felt like, and you did too during a lot of basketball. But the Eagle is the place to go. Best fried chicken you'll ever have, and their sides they come in like these. What do you call them? Stainless steel, or what do you call those?
Pan
skillets.
Skillet.
Yeah. Oh.
Thanks for letting me do this. I mean, this is like
wait till afterwards to talk about how much you love this because you killed my viewership. You absolutely just murdered it, I'm sure. No, I doubt that. So without further ado, he's Tom Kakert. He'll be back next week probably talking about Hawkeyes. Don will be back when there's a horrible officiating call, but more importantly when there's wrestling to be talked about. We'll have these two knuckleheads in as well. We need to get Larry in somehow, some way.
Number one.
No, he's not the
tribal chief.
So instead of taking a break and then coming back and then telling you guys goodbye, I'm going to just tell you guys goodbye a little bit early. Thanks for watching. Again, if you are watching on YouTube, we thank you. Subscribe. We're getting close to 650 subscribers, trying to work our way to 700. And if you've missed
1,000,
if you've missed any of the episodes, go ahead and check them out. Also on the podcasting platforms as well. Tell a friend, two friends, tell 10 friends about what we're doing. Trying to build something pretty cool here in the Quad Cities each and every day. Coming up on tomorrow's show, still working on the logistics of a few things, but one person I know for sure is another old friend of mine, and she's not old, but Camille Gear is going to join me tomorrow. She was our Hawkeye beat person when Caitlin Clark Mania was in full swing. So she spent a lot of time covering Caitlin Clark. We'll get her memories on Caitlin Clark as we get ready for a big weekend coming up between Iowa and USC and the return of Caitlin Clark to Carver Hawkeye Arena. I'm scared. I don't know what you're doing. I saw your arm moving, but all right. Without further ado, for Tom Kakert and
whoever this guy is,
Don Umland, we'll see you guys back here tomorrow on Off the Air.